Welcome to the AI for Interior Designers podcast, where creativity meets cutting-edge technology. In each episode, we dive deep into the world of artificial intelligence and explore how it's revolutionizing the interior design industry. From AI-powered design tools to the latest trends and innovations, we've got you covered. So plug in, relax, and let's embark on this exciting journey together. Welcome to AI for Interior Designers podcast. P.S. This intro was written by and voiced by AI to sound like your host, Jenna Gaidusek.
Hello and welcome to episode 19 of AI for Interior Designers podcast. I am your host, Jenna Gaidusek, and if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see that my entire wallpaper just fell off the other day, so my background is a flippin' hot mess. We will be working on that when I get back from visiting my parents in Vermont here next week. So luckily this is a podcast and you can't see me unless if you're watching it on YouTube, because yikes. We'll just say that. But also, it's giving me a reason to finally be able to put up something different on the walls, which is good and more reflective of this podcast that I was not doing when I hung that wallpaper over a year ago. But it was funny because I had a air purifier up and running in my office that I got on Prime Day for 18 hours. And with that, it just took off my entire wallpaper on one of my walls. So yeah, that's interesting because I'm in South Carolina, and you would think the humidity would do that to peel and stick wallpaper, but no, apparently removing the humidity and moisture from the air did that. So I don't know, can't win, but it was up for a while. So anyway, welcome to this episode. We are almost at episode 20, can't believe it. I try and do a new episode every week and just keep you guys informed with the latest and greatest in AI technology for the interior design industry. And it's been a wild ride so far, but I do love this and talking to you guys and getting your perspectives about things. It will not just be me talking in the future. I will have a few more guests. I've already had a few previously, but it's just been a busy summer. So I will have guests soon. If you want to be on the podcast, if you use AI or if you have a technology that is infused with AI for interior designers, please reach out to me. Would love to chat with you. I just nerd out about all of this AI stuff, all this tech stuff in general, and learning about all the different use cases and how people are, incorporating artificial intelligence in their business. So anyway, today I was going to talk about just how to talk to a large language model, such as ChatGPT, because I'm finding, and this is just me being using this technology for so long at this point, I'll say so long, I mean, it's a drop in the bucket, but over a year, chatting with ChatGPT and using other AI applications. And so this isn't really something that I had considered, but it is a frequently asked question that I've been getting a lot more of now, especially with AI summer camp and then, just random conversations, interviews, and things like that about AI, where I'm realizing that maybe we need to take it back a few more notches and just talk about how to talk to AI. So I've got some thoughts. And yeah, I just figured I would roll with it. It's not gonna be a long episode, but let's talk about it because it can feel daunting to some people, is what I'm finding. When they're just yeah, I want to use ChatGPT, but what do I ask? How do I ask questions? And, it can feel very overwhelming to somebody that's never used AI technology before. And some of these, media outlets or videos or these tech guys that are coming out, they just overcomplicate it. It's not flippin' rocket science, guys. It is, it's just artificial intelligence. But really, it's not as hard as people are making it sound like it should be. Okay. So if you have heard any articles or read any articles where it's you need prompt engineering and you need this and that, yes, in some capacities, you need to know how to ask questions, especially in Midjourney. If you want a certain image, there's certain things that you just need to include. And that's really all it comes down to, is just including different variables in what you're asking to generate for an image. But when it comes to large language models, which are things like ChatGPT, you got Claude, you've got formerly Bard, now Google Gemini, just a variety of different large language models. It's important to understand how they were trained because that has to do with how you speak to it. So think about how these things have gained their information and how we as humans have trained them to understand human language, aka native language. If you ever hear any of these nerds talking about it, native language is human language. Okay. So they basically trained all of this information or these models on human context, right? So human content in context. It scoured books, it read the internet, it read articles, it can read transcripts. So if you have a video, it's pulling on the words from the transcript, and it's, reading that. And with every ounce of information, it's just getting smarter and bigger and better and all of those things when it learns through our content and through things that humans have created. And I'm not here to debate the legalities or the ethics of this all. That's a whole other conversation of, where was it trained? Was that information public? Was it private? Should they have been training their models on this the whole time? I'm not here for that conversation today. I am just here to tell you what they did do and how to speak to it. Okay. So when we think about the things that it was trained on, yes, AI is technically a computer. It's technically like a robot, if you want to look at it that way, right? It's just a series of numbers and all of the stuff that makes computers and robots work. I don't know. I'm not a robot scientist or whatever that would be. I don't even know what that job is. I don't use that part of my brain. It's just not there for me. I design things and I like tech stuff, but like high level. Like I'm not in the trenches, writing code. I can do a little bit, I can understand a little bit, but that's not what I'm doing here. So I feel like I am kind of that intermediary for the design community and the tech community, which like gets stuck in their jargon. And really, I mean, I've worked with developers for a long period of time now. They like to make things look complicated and sound harder than they really are. I don't know. Maybe that's just their complex. I think everybody kind of has that type of thing going on in their own industry because it's your profession. It's what you're really good at. It's what you excel at. And you want to maintain this, I don't know, superior complex, I guess, when it comes to the things that you do, because it is your livelihood. So I get it. But also, AI is now open to everybody to be able to use and to adapt to their workflows. And I think it's time that we have the conversation where we're like, this is not as hard and complicated and confusing as people make it out to be. And honestly, maybe some of these older models of these programs just were, and you had to have certain ways that you asked for things and certain structures of the paragraphs and the prompts that you're putting in. And yes, probably to this day you still do, but you don't talk to it like it's a computer. Okay. That's number one. And I think that is what a lot of people get hung up on. They're like, oh, it's this computer technology. Like, what do I even say to it? Going back to the information that it was trained on, it was trained on human information and human interactions. So that is how it wants to be talked to. It wants you to have a conversation with it about what, like just normal, because that's what it understands. It was trained on our books and our literature and our blog posts and whatever that might be. So it understands how we talk as humans. Okay. So if you were to just simply open up the ChatGPT app and you download the correct one, right? The white one that actually connects with your pro account through OpenAI. There's a lot of variations out there, so get the white one that says ChatGPT. So if you open up your app on your phone, this is probably the easiest way to just start having a conversation and start engaging with AI. Open up a new chat thread. You don't even need to do anything special. Just start a conversation. At the bottom of that chat thread, you're going to see like a microphone. There's going to be one that you can just talk into, and that's your voice to text option. So if you prefer that, do that. For me, a lot of the time that I don't want to type things out, I will use that voice to text feature through my phone through ChatGPT. And then the other option is to have a conversation with it. And that's going to be the button on the right side of that the voice button in your chat box through your app. Okay. So that other option is basically having a interaction and a conversation as if you were speaking to a person. So you talk, it talks. You talk, it talks. That's how it works. It has a conversation with you, and it sounds like a person. They have trained these models to sound, and they're getting better and better, especially with the new 4.0 update to ChatGPT. It's just becoming more and more natural in the way that it's literally speaking and using words and conversational tones within its messaging. Okay, so it's been able to, like, take in your questions and then give answers in return. And now this voice component, which has been there for a while, is just getting better and better at having these conversations as if it was a human. So what does that really mean? And kind of like, how did we get to this point where people don't know how to talk to it or are, somewhat afraid of it or intimidated by it? I think there's generations that are going to just jump right in and be like, okay, this is just, normal. For a lot of generations that grew up with Google, that's just normal. That is part of their life. Internet, that's just part of their life. I was a 90s kid born in the 80s. And for me, I have this, interesting insight as to not growing up with Google, just kind of watching the internet take over and the old printers, the old computers, all that stuff. But also I got my first cell phone in high school, and I started texting my senior year of high school. I got Facebook the summer after I graduated because it had just released. So I'm kind of in this weird elder millennial stage where I can relate to those younger generations that are going to pick this up. And I've seen it. I did a career day at my daughter's school with third graders, and we used Midjourney, and I told them what I do as an interior designer, and they just were like, okay, let's do it. Tell me what you need and let's use this AI. But then I relate also to my parents' generation, and they're young 60s, and iPhones are great for them because they're simple. And well, my mom now has an Android, but my dad still has an iPhone. And he just wants simple things, and he wants them to work. And that's it. That's that. It doesn't mean that he's not using technology. He has to, for work, and he enjoys that. But he's not a techie by any means, and neither is my mom. So we also have those conversations as to okay, how do I get logged into this? Or how do I get started with this? How do you program my cell phone? Those types of things. So I'm in the middle. I have this cool perspective of watching things take fruition, and that's where we're at with this too. So what I'm seeing, and I don't want to categorize here, but what I'm seeing is that some of the people that are a little bit worried or nervous or just concerned about how to get started because they've heard that it could potentially, you have to do prompt engineering, which sounds scary. I get it. I get these perspectives where some people just want to jump right in and just start talking to it. And then there's others that are okay, but what do I do? What are the instructions? Tell me what to say. And when it comes down to it, all we have to do is have a conversation. We are in this place now where since we got technology, since texting really came onto the scene, and then social media, honestly, we've forgotten how to have conversations with other people. We have forgotten how to ask inquisitive questions to other people to get the answers that we're looking for. Everything is so surface these days, it's just, how you doing? Great. Okay, I'm fine. Awesome. And then moving on. There's no conversation. There's no deep understanding and learning about each other. And that, I think, is the main issue right now in why people don't know how to have a conversation with ChatGPT, because as a society, we've kind of forgotten how to have verbal conversations with people. a lot of people text or write into companies or, send a DM or whatever that might be. And they send this thing and then they either like want an instant reply, which, like, let's be honest, if you're not using a chat bot, you got to wait for a human to reply to you. Or they just say it and then like you reply to it and then ghost, like they're gone. And there's so much of that where it's just like, okay, I'm going to message and then never reply or be seen again in so many different areas of the internet or texting or inquiries on your website, and then you reply and then crickets. You send a proposal, crickets. I don't know about dating apps. I would assume that this is what I've heard from the younger kids these days, that like, I've been in a relationship for not too long, but long enough to never be on a dating app. So, I guess that's a thing where people just like don't reply either to those things. So we have, honestly, like, we are looking for instant gratification. We're looking for immediate results. And that's just not real life. Like, that's not how you have a conversation with somebody. Imagine you went up to a person and tried to have a conversation like you should be doing with ChatGPT. And it's, maybe the way that you've been currently using ChatGPT or these other LLM models. And you just go and you're like, okay, give me 50 suggestions for how I should market my business. And then it gives you those 50 suggestions and it bullet points them all down. You're like, okay. And then you just walk away, like you don't even reply half the time. You're just like, okay, well, there's 50. That's all I needed, but that's not good enough. Okay. That's not good enough. You need to ask further questions. You need to be like, okay, all right, I really love what you came up with for number 10, number 12, number 15. Let's explore those a little bit more. Let's start with number 10. What can you tell me about this topic? What do I need to know about it? How do I get started with it? How does it apply to my company? Ask follow-up questions, okay? And that's how you get the results that you're actually looking for and are not just surface level answers. Because if you ask surface level questions, you get surface level answers in return, and that helps nobody. ChatGPT wants you to dive deeper. Other LLMs want you to dive deeper. It's a starting point when you get your first answer. That is not the end answer that you should be using anywhere. Dive deeper, okay? Have the conversation. I use please and thank you when I'm talking to my GPTs to make it even more humanized. And, realistically, if they ever turn on us, hopefully they'll remember that I was nice to them. I don't know. That's also still out for discussion. We will see one day. I laugh about it, but like, hopefully that doesn't happen. We shall see. Anyway, back to this. There's just a few things that I wanted to like talk about when it comes to having these conversations. So like I said, ask further questions, develop the conversation, have a conversation. Don't just drop a question, take the answer as, as the end all be all, and then move on. Like, that's not how we talk. That's not how we communicate. That's not how we grow as a society and as a human race. So always be inquisitive. And so here's 6 different things that you could be doing to get better results with your ChatGPT and just to have a better conversation with it. So remember, by the way, ChatGPT is so that you can chat with it. It is not just so that you can ask it a question like Google and then that's it. Like, that's Google. That's a totally different situation. We are chatting with ChatGPT. Okay. So number 1, you got to be specific. So if you have a question, the more context you can provide, well, that's number 2, but be specific in your question. Clearly state what you're looking for. Vague questions lead to vague answers. So I've heard it a million times before. Oh, I tried ChatGPT, but it just didn't give me good answers. Well, you didn't ask it good questions. I can tell you that right now. You didn't give it enough information. You didn't provide it with enough context, number 2, to really understand the background and information about your question to accurately provide you with answers. So again, like, as if you were having a conversation with somebody and you wanted to educate them on the topic and then get their feedback, from their perspective on the topic, if you don't give them the full scope and the full understanding of what you're talking about, how the hell are they going to know? How are they going to answer that question with context and an intelligent response if you don't give them the full picture of what you're trying to say? Okay. So number 2 was provide context. Number 3 is simple language. Like, you don't need to be complicated, guys. You just need to keep it straightforward and ask the question. Okay. Don't overcomplicate it. Keep it simple. Simple language is the best way to get results that you can understand, or else it gets a little confused sometimes. Break down your question. So if you've got like a really long question, or multi-part questions, don't ask it all at once. What you're going to do, and maybe this is part of prompt engineering, I guess. But when you're having this conversation, maybe you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to be defining my new services. Okay. I need you to help me with creating a whole new list of services for my business. And then I'm going to have you write out a marketing plan for me, and we're going to figure out how I'm going to, start telling people about these new services. So if that's your goal, the ways that you would be asking it is in smaller bite-sized pieces. So first of all, you're going to give the model, the ChatGPT conversation, context. So you're going to be like, okay, here's some of what I'm thinking for my new design services. This is my hourly rate, if you can use that to factor it in. Here are the deliverables that I like to provide. Here's my ideal client, and just any other qualifying information that it needs to know about defining these services. And then you're going to say something like, do you understand? And is there any other information that I can provide you with before I start asking my questions? And if it has more questions, yes, answer those. If not, then go ahead and ask your question. So the next question can be like, okay, so how should I break up these different design services to create a ladder of services? And how should I price them? Or you could do the second question, how should I price them, after it develops out your services? Either way, I don't think that is too complicated. I think it's relatable in that same paragraph that you could ask both those things at the same time. Now, if I were to be like, define all my services, give me pricing, and then give me a 30-day content calendar for all of this, it will, but it's not going to be the quality that you're looking for, because you need to continue the conversation. Okay, it's a back and forth. It's not a one-sided conversation. So let's say it gives you options. It gives you 10 different ideas, 10 different price points for these services. You're not going to be like, okay, well, I'm going to run with all those. Let's just create the marketing plan now. You're going to have a conversation and continue to flesh out these services, remove deliverables, create different workflows, really create services and extract only the ones that you actually want to do. You're not going to do all 10 of those, I'm sure. But you would extract the 10, the top 3 options and be like, okay, let's start with number 1. I really liked what this one was. Let's develop that one out further. And then, you work back and forth until you really create a service and a plan and a price point for those 1 to 3 different services from that list. And then after you have those defined and you've had that conversation about what they look like, then you're going to say, okay, remember my ideal client that we were talking about earlier? That person, I have a feeling, is hanging out on Instagram, maybe LinkedIn and Pinterest. So knowing about my ideal client and my design services that we just created, can you create a content calendar for me for the next 30 days that includes what I should post, a caption, the type of information that I should be including that relates to my ideal client, and hashtags and whatever various information you want to include in that content calendar, and create it into a spreadsheet for me. Okay, so that would be the next step. Now it's going to create that content calendar. It's going to show you all those details. It's going to lay everything out for you. But if that doesn't feel right for you and your brand with the first iteration and you need to work on it, have a conversation. This is now your marketing team. Speak with your marketing person, your GPT, and say, Okay, well, that doesn't feel like me. That doesn't really sound like something I would say. Maybe here's a snippet of a conversation that I've had so you can understand my brand voice, or here's a blog post that I wrote. Can you just rewrite these captions so that they sound a little bit more like me? Let's revise that marketing strategy. Okay, do you see what I did there? Like, we broke things down. We segmented questions. We didn't flood it with all this information and all these questions that it would just kind of glaze over had we done that. We broke it down. We had a conversation that was two-sided, back and forth. And then in the end, you've developed something that you can then take out of ChatGPT and you can move forward with and understand deeper because you did ask those questions and because it did listen to your questions and your feedback, and it made it more tailored to you. Now, had we just said, here's what I do and I need you to do this, no, that would have been just like trash information. Like, it would not have been helpful to anybody. Okay, have the conversation, break down the questions. Number 5 here is ask for clarification. So if you don't understand the response, if it's not, maybe ChatGPT replied to one of those things and it was just like so much technical jargon in there that you were like, whoa, can you explain this to me like I am 15? It'll do that. If you wanted to explain as if you're a 5th grade reading level, it'll do that. So if there's ever anything that you don't get, even in its replies back to you, this is a setting that you could actually put into your overall ChatGPT in the way that it replies to you. But if it doesn't, if it's not something that's understandable to you, just ask for it to say it a different way. It can absolutely do that. Okay. And then the last thing that I have here is iterate. So if the question isn't quite right, then just refine your question and ask it again. So if you're asking a question and it's just not understanding, and it's giving you like results that just don't really apply, then it's not understanding the question. And either you need to break the question down into smaller pieces or ask it in a different way. Okay, so if you're not finding the answers that you're looking for, it's just because it just simply might not get it. So try and ask it in a different way, and then break it down. And that could definitely help. All right. So in the end, if somebody is curious as to like where to get started, and hopefully this took some of that daunting feeling out of it where, you don't know what to say, get ChatGPT. I have ChatGPT Plus, so you get, you just get way more out of it. I'm not going to get into the details, but the free version is fine. ChatGPT Plus is much more elevated in the things that you can do with it. So get ChatGPT Plus, put the app on your phone, and then just have a conversation. Okay. The other day for AI summer camp, I built a GPT that basically builds out a 7-step process for defining your business, from ideal client to location to services to literally embedding custom branded context into your website. So you could build it that way, develop business cards, developed, brand imagery, color palettes. I did all of that in 30 minutes by having a chat conversation with this GPT on my phone. It was much faster than me typing everything out, and it felt way more conversational, as if I was speaking to like a business coach, where it was just kind of like, okay, I'm doing this. What's the next step? What do I do next? And it was already programmed to do that. So it guided me through those types of things that I would need to tell it so that it could better reply to me. And then I would ask those qualifying questions. We'd dive deeper, and I would have revisions. It would revise, and then we would move forward. So in the end, guys, we have forgotten how to have conversations with people. And I think that is why people are confused as to how to talk to AI, because AI seems like a robot. It seems very futuristic, but in the end, it was trained on human information written by humans. And so it understands that language. It understands native human language. Okay. It also understands multiple languages, like human languages, like dialects, Spanish, like all of those. There's tons and tons, and it can actually do conversions. So like English to another language and then backwards in almost like real time at this point. So it understands how we speak, guys. It understands how we speak in multiple languages. That's all you got to do to it. You just got to talk to it. All right. I mean, yes, you can text, but sometimes my texts are just like a hot mess. But if I say it and it comes out of my mouth, then it sounds better. Sometimes. Sometimes it's worse. So I don't know. Take that for what it is. But that chat feature is super helpful. I highly recommend it. So anyway, that's what I got for today. Just taking the daunting scariness out of prompting, using LLMs, large language models, such as ChatGPT. And again, there's a variety of those, but ChatGPT is basically what powers a lot of different programs at this point. So I figured I would talk about that one specifically. Okay. So that's it for this episode. I will see you back maybe next week. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I think I'm going to be back in time to record next week. I'm going to my parents' house in Vermont, in our family camp that my grandfather built next to his brother a very, very long time ago. So that's on Lake Champlain, and I will be there and hopefully just kind of taking some time to decompress, be with some friends as my son turns 3. So we'll have a little birthday. So I just might not be recording before I get back, but I might. So we'll see. Episode 20 is either coming next week or the week after. It'll be here when it's here. All right, guys. Yeah, let me know what you guys think. I'm curious to know if you've prompted, if you feel like this is helpful. What else do you guys want to learn about? I've got plenty to talk about, but where I'm at in my business is different than from where you guys are at in your business. So tell me how I can help. Tell me what topics, leave a comment, and don't forget to follow. All right? Till next time, have a great week. Bye.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of the AI for Interior Designers podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and tune in next week for more AI tips for your design business. See you next time.